Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we are going to be taking a look at Hellish Quart. Now, what the hell is that, you may ask? I didn't know, I hadn't even heard of it until I saw a random video on YouTube about it. Hellish Quart actually refers to a cut in sword fighting in Poland, where you cut from the bottom left of a man's torso to his top right. And people would boast about being able to do this and sever a man's belt without actually injuring him. And that's a Hellish Quart. And of course, what this means is it's a sword fighting game made in Poland. You'll realise quite quickly that it's made in Poland, in fact, because there's a mode on it called History Buff Mode. And what happens is you basically have a never-ending series of fights with random characters. And every time you win one, you get a new fact about history. And 99% of them are based in Poland. Being a European game, you don't expect to see like Comanche warriors with tomahawks or English knights or ninjas, samurai, stuff like that. It's all sort of characters from around where they are. There's like people from, they don't actually give a nationality out, they just have a name and an appearance, but I'm assuming there's one from Spain, there's one from France, fair few from Poland, as you can imagine, you know, countries like that. And it's in early access. It's about £14 on Steam. It's also available on GOG, and apparently, although I haven't seen it for myself, but according to my old friend Google, is available on last gen consoles as well, so I assume it will run fine on current gen consoles via backwards compatibility. So I was going to obviously do the next part of the Mortuary Assistant, and then I picked this up after, as I said, chancing upon it on a YouTube video, and that was kind of it for me, actually. I played very little else. Now, to be fair, I do need to mention some of the shortcomings in it, because it is early access. It isn't feature complete yet, so there's no story mode. There is like an example of a cutscene that's on it at the moment, where you can get a sort of idea of what it's going to look like. You have a few modes to play around with. Mostly it's just, okay, survival, I pick a fighter, how many can I win, and the other one is kind of the history buff, where you just do random fighters endlessly, basically. So you win a fight as a fighter, next fighter come up, you're fighting someone different, you're playing someone different, win that fight, same deal, you just get the little historical information dropped in between if you win. It is a challenging game because it's very much, imagine sort of a modern version of Bushido Blade. Yeah, so if you've ever played Bushido Blade, you know that those matches can go on for an incredibly short amount of time. So it's kind of like at the Bushido Blade end of the spectrum. It does remind me a little bit of the Deadliest Warrior game, but obviously much better. Because let's face it, most of the appeal of the Deadliest Warrior game was having episodes of Deadliest Warrior on it, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. Even though effectiveness of weapons just seems to come from like how loud Jeff Desmoulins goes, yeah, blood. But I'm getting off topic, I'm sorry. But the controls actually feel really well. I mean, I'm playing on a gamepad, as you would in a fighting game. But you do have to... there is a steep learning curve, but it's not unplayable to new beginners. Because there's an element of timing involved that you can just luck out on. Some of the characters, at least for me, seem to be almost like playing on easy mode. Like, two of the women have basically just a lot of sort of fencing tactics and stabbing, which seems to be so much quicker than the other guys. And you've got like a priest with a two-handed sword, and he is slow as you like, and really difficult to win with because of how much recovery he has between his blows, where he's wielding a heavy, slow sword. But, you know, once he hits, he's super powerful. And I think if you get in close with it, you can do some good work as well. But as I said, to actually master it, it's going to take a long time. The fighters all have different moves. When they're in close, they'll like punch and kick to get range, and that'll stagger the other guys, so you can punch them in the face and slash them. There is dismemberment physics. I haven't seen a great deal of it. Generally speaking, it seems to be the hand that comes off during normal gameplay, although each character has a finishing move. Although I've only managed to pull off one guy's finishing move, and he kind of just sort of gets the arm out of the way and cuts the head off. So there's that. It is in there, but I'm just not good enough to get it, because, as I say, this game will take some practice to master. You don't move, and your character will block, and then you have attacks. Over the 4 face buttons, you can move forward and backwards, so you can try circling, that works quite well on those previously mentioned ladies with the long, pointy, stabby attacks. I find if you circle off and don't just sort of run into their giant needle, then it goes better for you. And it's just a real fun game to play. The gameplay is absolutely there. There's a huge roster of characters, but only some are available right now. There are a few you can look at, but not play as, and others which are just blanks. But I mean, it is early access, and it is being updated regularly. They have implemented a couple of different modes into it, which are interesting, although I don't think they're going to be the bread and butter of the game, in the fact that there is a first-person mode they've put in, which is interesting to try. I don't think it's very good in terms of for the game. It's interesting to like sword fight from a first-person perspective. There's also a VR mode, but interesting enough, the VR mode is more of you being the camera rather than you sort of being, the character, if you like. So something more akin to Chronos in terms of VR games. So getting those in, it's really good. It does have multiplayer at the moment, but it's not online multiplayer as far as I can tell. I think it just uses Steam. Is it Steam Link? I think it's Steam Link. Don't quite remember that. And a few other things just to do sort of local multiplayer across like maybe 2 systems if you've got like an upstairs PC and a downstairs. I'm not sure if crossplay is involved, so if you've got the PS4 version and the PC version, possibly. Because there's a couple of other options. But I haven't tried it because I'm not a huge multiplayer guy, and I can't imagine my wife wanting to play it, really. So there you go. But as you can see from the footage I will have captured, I'm doing that next, it's not a bad looking game. It's not anything you would say is top tier in terms of graphics, but the gameplay is where this game shines. There's a few different options as well when you have the matches. So you can have like wooden weapons. You can have Hema, which is historical European martial arts, if I remember that correctly. Which is steel weapons, but you're all padded up. You have sharp weapons, which is obviously, the sharp weapons are the more entertaining. I don't think I've ever had a bout in there where I've gone, that was super cheap, I'm pissed off. I've always been like, yeah, I fucked that up. Okay, he got me. Let's go again. I want to get him back. It's one of those that no matter how badly you do, you're always like, okay, that's fine. I'm ready to go again. Which is just outstanding. It's really hard to describe how good the gameplay is, because you're just like, yeah, well, you press a button, you swing the sword this way, you press another button, you swing the sword that way, and if you do, a quarter circle back and a button, it does this, and, all that sort of thing is in it. But you need to actually play it to actually feel how the gameplay feels, because it's really good, it's really nice. I'm really loving it. I wish there was more to it, but what's there is still enough to make me play it for hours. So, take that what you will. The survival mode is interesting, actually, because it changes the difficulty up on you. So you start off, and they need to take you out twice, and you need to take them out once to beat the round. And then you sort of get to the point where you need to do equal, and then all of a sudden you're at a point where, you need to do it twice, and they need to do it once. And so the more matches you have, the more difficult it gets from that perspective, even though it doesn't really change up the difficulty of the gameplay itself. But due to the nature of the gameplay, your next match could easily be your last. Because if you just fuck up just slightly on the timing, you're wide open and you get a sword in your face. There's a lot of different animations for deaths as well. So there's ones where these just sort of kneel down because you've like cut them in the arm badly, which is nice because like normally people just shrug off like a massive cut to the arm, which normal people wouldn't do that. So it's interesting to see that they've done that. You also get like stuff where you've got like cracked open skull, sort of wounds to the body, and quite often you will take each other out, because obviously when they're attacking there's an opening for you, but if you don't get it right, you don't avoid the attack and you end up skewering each other, and that doesn't count as a win. You can set it so it's based on aggression, so if you have a draw like that, the most aggressive fighter will win, but the default setting is that's just a no contest. And a best of 3 match I was playing, it turned into about the best of 9 because of that. But it was super fun. I mean, it does this really absolutely demonic thing though. This is why I love it, and kind of hate it as well, is when you're doing the history buff mode, you have a fight, you get the historical fact come up if you win, you press a button on your controller, and then you're like straight into the next fight. And so it's one of those where it's very difficult to get away from it once you've started playing it. I mean, I only need to go, you know, about half hours of capturing that I'll edit down, or just pick out the best section from to back this video. But I imagine I'll be playing it for a few hours at least, because it's just so easy just to go next. Oh, new sword fight, excellent. Next, new sword fight, excellent. I should really go downstairs and, you know, get something to eat or have a cigarette or whatever. I'll just do one more. Next. It is one of those. It just stops you from going away from it, that mode. So I would recommend, unless you have no timing worries at all and can spend the entire evening playing it, I would recommend doing the survival mode, because there at least in that is a definitive endpoint in the fact that your run comes to the end when you're defeated. And it's also probably the best way of, I would say, like, the history buff mode is a good way of like working out which character you want to get to know more familiarly with. Be more familiar with is probably a better way of saying that. English. I'm only English. Fuck it. What do I know about it? So, and then what you would do is you would take that character and you say, okay, now do survival mode, and that is the point where you would really dig into it and learn their sort of special moves, if you like, you know, the quarter circle stuff, and the best way to utilize them. But yeah, it's a great game. It's overwhelmingly positive across its life and recently on Steam. I think it's on GOG as well, and I think it's set at like 4.6 out of 5 on there. It's at 9 out of 10 on Steam. It's, you know, it's under 15 quid. Now, it's not full featured and you don't have the online multiplayer element yet, but I understand that's coming, and obviously more characters will be coming and more game modes will be coming, and I can't say enough good things about it. I would highly recommend picking it up right now in its current form for that amount of money. You will get more than, I mean, you pay like, if you're like me, you pay like, what, £70 for Call of Duty Cold War? You know, I'm not interested in multiplayer, I'm just interested in the campaign, so I'd have like a 6-7 hour campaign if I'm lucky, and that's it. I just put it away again and you go, okay, well, you know, I'll download like 200 gig at some other point if I ever want to play it again, because that can't stay on my PlayStation 5 hard drive. That's a bit much. But this, like, less than £15, I've already had probably more hours of enjoyment than I got out of Call of Duty. So definite recommendation to pick it up right now if you can. I'd love to see these lads really get some money behind them so they can, you know, speed up the process, give me more fighters. I would kind of like them to see them ranging further afield, which, you know, is absolutely possible. I can't see any reason why, like, more fighters for different regions wouldn't fit in as well. So it'll give us the Deadliest Warrior game that we've always wanted, as opposed to the one we already have, which is, yeah, a bit questionable, really. That, I think the main fall down of that one was you didn't really feel as in you were in total control of your fighter. So it was very much a flailing match until someone lost an arm or a head or whatever. And they had the cheap-ass range weapons, which made it no fun. But anyway, yes, so that is Hellish Quart. I would highly recommend you get it on whatever platform you possibly can and give it a try, because it's not a lot of money, and me sat here telling you about it really does it a disservice, because it just feels great to play. So it's a little bit, I mean, it has been out in early access for a little while. I think it was February 2021 when it initially released into early access, but it's still early access, so I guess I'm still early. Yay me. But it was something completely passed me by, and even if I may have seen it, which I'm not sure I had, in like a Steam sale or just recommended games, I mean, the term Hellish Quart, it just sounds like a lot of really bad beer. So, so I probably wouldn't even have given it a second look, but please do so. Please try it out. I really wish they would have a demo of it. I don't think they have, but a demo of it would sort of communicate the feel of the gameplay, and you could sell it based on that. But at the moment, it's just a relatively niche game that not many people know about, with a strange name, which is bad, because this thing needs some more attention. It really does. This is like, you know, I remember like reviewing For Honor with Snare and it being like, oh look, a sword fighting game, don't get many of those, and now you get this and you're like, oh, this is a sword fighting game. That wasn't. Because it really is night and day between the two. I mean, if you like For Honor, you know, food bags, that's fine. You can like what you like, obviously. But if you like the concept of sword fighting in a game, then this is going to be your jam. And so like there will be some crossover, but For Honor is very much more sort of arcadey nonsense compared to this. This is just so much more technical, and you really have to pick your openings and try not expose yourself. That's something I struggle with every day, by the way. to attacks, expose yourself to attacks, obviously. So I think I'm about done. I just can't think of anything more to say about this game other than it needs to be supported, it needs to be played, and I can't wait to see what they add to it next. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Take it easy guys.